It's fair to say that the 2022 F1 field is one of the strongest in history, with 10 race winners and 3 multiple-time world champions on the grid, and there are just 4 drivers changing teams this season, including the debut of Guan Yu Zhou, the return of Alex Albon, George Russell moving to Mercedes, and Valtteri Bottas going to Alfa. But who has the strongest driver lineup and who has the weakest? Let's get straight into it. Starting off in 10th, and yes, to be honest, it's probably no surprise, Haas, Schumacher and Mazepin will embark on their second season, hoping to find midfield. But yeah, kind of the main factor letting them down here is probably Mazepin. Yeah, we saw he's not great last season. Mick Schumacher, for me, he had a relatively decent season. I think he can actually kick on this year. Moving on to position 9, Alex Albon and Nicholas Latifi. Yeah, this is a really interesting one for me. Alex Albon, of course, a year out, he'll be hoping to repeat what Gasly did at Alfa Tauri against Latifi, who, yeah, let's face it, he's not that great, is he? I mean, he definitely improved last season. We'll be hoping to see some more from him. But yeah, put it this way, he's a very back of the driver grid at the best. Moving on then to number 8, and that is Alfa Romeo. And for me, this is a big contrast. Bottas, for me, obviously, he's kind of been underrated in a way because he's been up against Lewis Hamilton. People forget how good he was when he drove for Williams, and I really think he'll rediscover that form this season against Guan Yu Zhou, who personally, for me, I don't think should be in F1. But, you know, let's give him a chance to see how he goes. In number 7, I've gone for Aston Martin, Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll. Both drivers are very inconsistent, and yeah, let's face it, Sebastian Vettel isn't anywhere near the driver that he was a few years ago, back in his prime. And yeah, for me, Lance Stroll as well, I mean, he's alright, isn't he? Nothing special, and yeah, it's just a very mid-driver lineup, to be honest. Moving on then to number 6, and that is Alfa Tauri. And yeah, this is an interesting one. Obviously, we've got Gasly, who's been a standout performer really ever since he was dropped by Red Bull in 2019. And Yuki Tsunoda, for me, Yuki's an interesting one. We really saw some signs of breakthrough for Tsunoda in the last few races of last year, and I'm really hoping he can kick on this year. Moving on then to number 5, and that is Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo. I think this kind of depends on Ricciardo as well, because obviously we saw Lando Norris, he's just been getting better year on year on year, and I'm really excited to see how he can do this year. And Daniel Ricciardo, obviously we've seen how good he can be with Red Bull, Renault, and yeah, hopefully now he's got a year, got his feet under the table with that team, he can really kick on next year, but we'll see. Moving into number 4, and that is Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon. Personally, I had worries about Esteban Ocon when Alonso joined. I thought Alonso might wipe the floor with him, but I was proved wrong. These two were actually so close together, worked really well as a team, and yeah, for me, it was just such an underrated driver lineup this season. The experience of Alonso, the youth of Ocon, and I really think it works well. Moving on then to number 3, and that is Red Bull, Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. Now obviously Max Verstappen, top 2, maybe someone might say top 1 on the grid at the moment. There's really no debate to be had about that. It's more about Sergio Perez. Obviously we've seen what Perez can do in Racing Point, Force India, etc, etc, but for me he kind of undelivered last season, and we're really dependent on him picking up. Moving on then to number 2, and that's Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. And yeah, for me, it was very close between them and Hamilton and Russell. Because yeah, they're just so evenly matched, both pushing each other at the top of the games. For me, both could well be future world champions in the future as well. And yeah, it's so great to see Ferrari have a driver lineup just constantly pushing each other like that. Moving on then to number 1, and that is Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. It was close just because of George Russell, really. Obviously, we've seen what he can do, that Belgian qualifying lap, Sakir and everything like that. But yeah, just on a consistent basis, we don't really know, and that's nothing against George Russell because he hasn't had the opportunity to prove it. But you know, when you've got a 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton in your team, it really is hard not to put him number 1 with someone like George Russell. But anyway, guys, that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching. Enjoy, like, share, subscribe, let me start comments down below. If you want to test the description for daily F1 news, and subscribe to my channel on screen, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.